Good evening. We'd like to welcome to our candidate forum. My name is Melissa Briggs. I'm the current president of the Peoria United Parent Council, and we are hosting the event tonight. This is Wyatt Buchanan. He's the West Valley editor of the Arizona Republic and azcentral.com. I just want to give you a few details to get us started. You probably already are familiar with PUSD, but just to let you know, our school district currently has 34 elementaries, 7 high schools, and 1 non-traditional high school, which is why this forum here is so important. Currently, we have 1 seat available for a 2-year term and 2 seats available for a 4-year term. And let me explain why that is. The 2-year seats are a result of vacated positions over the last 2 years. Normally, the board positions are 4-year seats. So I'm going to introduce our candidates real fast. The candidates for our 2-year seat, which there is 1 seat available for that, are Hal Borhauer. Do you want to? Beth Joyce. And Judy Doan. We did reach out to Judy Doan multiple times and did not receive a response back from her as far as participating tonight. And then our candidates for our 4-year term, which there are 2 seats available, are Dr. Bill Burku, Kathy Connect, and Beverly Pingarelli. She had to work this evening, and that's why she is not with us. And I'm going to go ahead and turn our time over to Wyatt.
All right, I'm going to test this out. Can you hear me all right? Okay. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to talk just a little bit about the format for this evening. I have a series of questions that have been determined by me. There are some questions that were submitted in advance, some that I came up with, but the council hasn't decided which questions are going to be asked. That has been decided by me. We do have note cards in the back. If there is a question that you would like to ask, just go ahead and fill those out and then give them to Danielle, and she will bring them up to me, and then as we go, I will try to work them in. If there's something that I'm already going to ask, I'll go ahead with my question, unless maybe you put it a better way. I might use yours. You know, depending on time as well. So for each question, each candidate will get 90 seconds to answer the question. I'll note the time at 60 seconds just to give you all a warning of how much time you have left, and then stop you at 90 seconds. I won't stop you mid-sentence. I'll allow you to finish the sentence, but please don't go on, or I'll have to cut the mic. Okay, so and we'll alternate the questions. We'll go down the row and then back, so it's not the same order every time for each question. And again, audience, if you feel like there's a topic that has not yet been addressed or you're hoping will be, please go ahead and submit that. Each candidate will get 2 minutes for an opening statement. There will be no closing statements. So let's get started. We'll go down the line to start. So Kathy, if you want to go ahead for your opening statement.
Okay, is this on? Is it on?
You might have to lean in a little closer.
I got it. Turn it up. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming this evening. I know that it's a work night and a week night, and you're giving up something to come here and hear us talk tonight. So I really appreciate everybody making the effort. My name is Kathy Connect. I am on the Peoria School Board now, and I have been for the last 8 years. I'm a former teacher. I'm very, very involved in the community here, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to work on the school board. I was recently at a meeting down in Pima County, and there were some wannabe and new school board members at a meeting, and they were asked why you want to be on the school board. And some of the answers that people give are, well, I have an issue with this teacher, and I want to fix that, or you know, I don't think money is being used well, and I want to fix that. And really, the right answer for me, why do I want to do this a 3rd term? It is so rewarding. I get to hand 18-year-olds their high school diploma. I get to go into classrooms and read with kids. I get to celebrate with our schools with that 3 times more this year than last year are A-rated schools. I get to celebrate with a district that is an A-rated district. I get to go and cut the ribbon on Peoria's Old Main, the most beautiful building in our city that we have been able to rehab and put brand new, state-of-the-art, innovative programming in for our students.
30 seconds.
So that's really why I want to do it. Yes, there's no pay. Yes, we've had to make heart-wrenching decisions. But when it comes down to it, it's about serving the community. It's about being there for families and kids and celebrating 125 years of one of the best things going on in the West Valley, and that's our school district.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Burkew, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Bill Burkew, and I'm running for the school board. I've been a homeowner in school district for over 20 years. My wife is here, Pam. I have one daughter and 4 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren. Now, running for the school board is something I wanted to do for a long time. It's not some inspiration I had in a political party meeting or anything like that. It's just I'm active and want to serve the school district. The board's responsibilities are huge. You know, we've got 3,800 employees, and we have 37,000 students, and it's a big responsibility, and that's why I want to go in there. I think I'm the best choice because I have knowledge and experience to accomplish the office. I'm a retired teacher. Education is actually my second career. I worked for the Army, Department of Army, as a civilian and active duty reserve for about 20 years. And then about age 40, I had a change of life. I went back to college. I went to college, and I became the first member of my family to get a bachelor's degree. I got a bachelor's at NAU in science, Bachelor of Science in Education. I taught it, I did that while I was substituting, and I taught at Tuba City Junior High School for a number of years, and then I went on to
30 seconds.
A graduate degree. I earned a master's and a PhD in education at ASU. And I continued working for ASU for the rest of my career, basically in educational technology. And the last years, I spent teaching future teachers as a faculty member of the College of Education. And many of my teachers are out here as our teachers in the district. So this is something I've wanted to do. I was not a good student in high school. I was one of those students, and I could just get by. Over?
Yep.
A slacker. Anyway, this is what I'm doing now, and I want to be of service to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Borauer.
Good evening, and thanks for coming. My name's Hal Borhauer. I'm running for the 2-year seat on the governing board, and the 2-year seat is available because of the death of Mr. Joe McCord, one of our fellow board members this past January. That's how there ended up being a 2-year seat open. Tell Siri I'm okay without her. So I'm running for the 2-year term. I'm in my 6th year on the board. And I didn't run for the 4-year term because I really began to wonder, am I really relevant a decade later? I wasn't sure I wanted to be here that long. I've enjoyed the last 6 years I've been on the board. I've been the board president for the last 4 years. And like Mrs. Connect said, we've had some really tough decisions to make with the reduction in state funding. We worked hard to keep that as far away from the students as we could, but we couldn't keep it totally away from the students. There was just no way. And so in this 2-year term, I look forward to the funding coming back. The Supreme Court has ruled that the legislature has to fund the inflation factor. So I'm looking forward to how we can put that money back in the classroom and support our students to improve them in the future. I'm also proud of some of the accomplishments we've made. The Met Professional Academy is going to open up in January, we hope, and then go full speed next fall. And that's, in my mind, a CTE program on steroids. And our 95% graduation rate in Peoria is, I believe, happens because of our robust career and technical education programs. And I want to continue to support those and improve the MET program. And I would appreciate your vote. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Beth Joyce, please go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you all for coming here tonight. I have my mom and my husband here, but I also see former students and people I worked with in the district too, so it's great to see everyone out here tonight. I've been with the Peoria district since 1985, and it's been a really important part of my life. When I first came here, I just substituted. I wasn't sure I wanted to teach again, and I looked and I was so impressed by the way this district was run that I decided to become a teacher here. Since then, I taught mostly language arts and history from kids from grades 7 to 12, and for 26 years. I loved every single day in the classroom. I loved teaching, and I loved the kids. While teaching, I went back to school. I got my master's degree at Arizona State, and I coached and sponsored several teams and clubs while I was in the district. Our son was a student here, and so we were able to see the finest quality of teachers with him going through school here also. I care deeply about the PUSD, and I have a knowledge that is more beneficial for as a governor and board member. Since my retirement 2 years ago, I've gone back to substitute teach. I've noticed a vast difference in the morale at the schools now compared to when I first started here. I would like to be a district board member because of that. I'm running as a write-in candidate. My petitions were challenged because I did not squeeze an expiration date into the blank that wasn't there. A community watchdog took me to court and won. Currently, the Supreme Court's going to decide the matter as of tomorrow at 5 a.m. I'm sorry, 5 p.m. The court doesn't get up that early, trust me. I am the candidate with the most years' experience in the district, both as a parent and former teacher. Thank you, and please write my name in. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. On to the questions. We are going to start with a question about availability of teachers in the district. Districts across Arizona, including in the Peoria Unified School District, are facing a shortage of qualified teachers. The use of long-term substitutes has even been used to make up some of the shortage. What can the board do to increase satisfaction, retention, and recruitment of teachers? And for this question, we'll start on this end, and then the next one will start on the other. So, Kathy Knick, please go ahead.
Well, you're absolutely right. The teacher shortage is a crisis for the entire state of Arizona and, of course, the Peoria Unified School District. In the long term, what we need to do is we need to provide our teachers who work so hard, day in and day out, working for the most noble cause. We need to give them adequate compensation so that they can feed their families and go on and have high quality of life. One of the conversations that the board has had recently is how are we going to help our teachers in the short term. Everybody's quite aware that we're adapting to new standards right now, new evaluation tools right now, and we don't have a lot of funding for professional development. That puts a lot of stresses on our teachers. So what we can do as a school board is we can support and assist our administration in a way that we can provide the kind of internal customer service that our employees need and the supports that they need to be successful so that they don't burn out, so that they are feeling respected and encouraged and supported in the good work that they're doing.
Thank you. Dr. Berkue, go ahead.
I think as Mr. Boerhauer mentioned, the salaries are something that teachers are looking for, just equity all around the country. I think there's a shortage, critical shortage of teachers because they can go other places, other careers. But more so than that is the empathy for what a teacher does every day, the work in the classroom, the respect for the profession. And that's something that we need as a board, and we do a pretty good job, but to embrace that. They are the center. They're down in the trenches, basically, they say, with the students. And that's what we need to do. That's the recognition and what we're going to do. We've been in a dark cloud because of financial problems brought on by the lack of funding by the state. We've won a lawsuit, and hopefully this money will come back in, and we'll be able to do that.
30
With that,
seconds.
the attraction, like my former students at Arizona State, will come back. People go into teaching because of love of the profession. That's what we're all about. And these other problems will get out from under the dark cloud of underfunding and be back to recognize who teachers are.
Okay, thank you. Al Borhauer, please go ahead.
Mrs. Connect mentioned the shortage of teachers is statewide. In fact, it's growing nationwide. And I think the conversation in Arizona started when they started talking school choice. They had to bash the public school teachers to promote the charter schools. And it's kind of dried up the field of people coming into the profession. One, wages are low. Two, we have a lot of teachers who retired just to protect their retirement. We were a career ladder district. And as career ladders went away, the district wasn't able to backfill the money they were losing. And so your retirement's based on your last few years' employment. You can't afford to lose $6,000 a year before your retirement starts. So we had teachers who probably would have stayed teaching, retired early. So part of the conversation needs to start downtown at the Capitol. They need to stop bashing teachers. They're doing a fabulous job. They're very altruistic people. They get their joy out of the success of their students, not necessarily something that they created.
30 seconds.
So we need to support them, and we need to support them financially as some of the funds come back as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth Joyce, please go ahead.
I know something about this. I was called twice last year by the principal at Sunrise Mountain High School and asked to do a long-term sub position because the teacher of both of those classrooms just didn't show up. Didn't call, just didn't show up. And so this is a critical problem in our district. I realize that we have a certain amount of the pie that we're given by the state, but I think that that needs to be divided up differently. I think there's more money for teachers with 301 funding that could be given to them that hasn't been given to them in the past. There are different programs that we can look at and try to get more of that money back to the teachers, because if you have teachers who are burning out, you're going to have schools that you're going to lose quality teachers, and I know our district has in the last few years. I would definitely like to make sure that teachers get enough money to help them keep off of food stamps. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And let's go to the second question, dealing with perhaps some additional money that is going to be coming in. The state has been ordered by a judge to increase education funding by hundreds of millions of dollars a year. If the state complies with the recent court order and increases school funding, where would you want to direct additional money? And we'll start on this end with Beth Joyce.
Okay, thank you. And I hope that that money comes sooner rather than later in a lot of cases. One of the reasons, as Mr. Borhauer said, that our teacher salaries have gone down is because we lost career ladders. But I think one thing that the governing board did not do is try to figure out ways to fund the teachers before they knew that that was going to end. I would take that money and try to build up teacher salaries so we don't lose them as quickly to retirement, like you said, and we did lose a lot of them that way. And make sure that the teachers who have been here for 10, 12, 15 years aren't being paid on the same pay schedule as a teacher who's been here 3 or 4. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Borhauer.
I want to put the money as close to the classroom as we can. We've managed our administration functions very efficiently. I would like to see all-day kindergarten refunded as a starting point for students. One of the cuts that we've done with the reduction in funding is we removed classroom support for the teachers in the classroom. PAL teachers, teaching aides, intervention specialists. So the teachers have lost a lot of the support staff. There are kids that come to school today that are just not ready for school today, and we still have to take care of them. And so we pushed all that burden pretty much back on administration because we've removed all of the supports in between. So I want to support those things. But I do want to challenge you on 301 funding. The district has put every dime of 301 funding in all 3 buckets, 11, 12, and 13, into teachers' pay. Totally, 100% for the last 4 years. We've not kept any of the menu money. It's all gone to teachers. So we do support our teachers as best we can, but we still have to keep the lights on, we still have to cool the buildings, we still have to clean the buildings, we still have to transport the students to school. So funding is an issue, but as it comes back, I know that it will direct it towards the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Berkey, where would you direct the settlement money?
I would agree with the other two speakers. We have lost critical programs, all-day kindergarten, and so many of them I can't even list them on my hand. But we again have to retain and attract the teachers that we have. Those are irreplaceable, and they've gone to the wayside because of they just got to move on and get other careers. What I think we have to do is that's part of the job as a board member, is to figure out where we're going to put that money. Teachers, we've shorted them every year, and I think it's time that we get that back. We have the older teachers in our classrooms, or the long-term teachers, are assets. You can't believe in education. That's what we hope in the university, that we send our new graduates out to experienced teachers to train them, because that's where the real training is. So we've got to retain who we have, and we have to make those decisions on restoring those critical programs, kindergarten, early childhood, other student support things. And that's something we've got to do, and we've got to get the legislature to keep doing what they've been forced to do by the courts. Fund schools.
Time.
Okay,
Nick,
well,
go ahead.
Some real good answers there, and I would agree with almost all of them. Definitely we need to reinstate K-12. In addition to being fundamental for the success of our youngest students, it would make us more competitive with some of the other surrounding districts that are offering all-day K right now. We definitely have to boost salaries so that we can keep teachers, and I would recommend that at maybe the 4-year or 5-year mark, there's some sort of additional stipend for those teachers who have come in and are willing to stay beyond that mark there. I think we should incorporate some kind of signing bonus, because the crisis that we need to avert right now is those empty classrooms. That's not fair to our kids when they don't have somebody who is a full-time teacher that's working for the district. We've cut reading specialists, we've cut librarians, we've cut some nurses, we've cut instructional specialists, intervention specialists. All of those are critical services that our students need, and I would do what we could to boost those numbers again. And finally, we had to reduce our services to our gifted program. And many of our parent community were very upset about that. So I would utilize some of that funding to strengthen and reinstate some of those programs as well.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next question. I want to talk about Common Core, or the College and Career Ready Standards here in Arizona. Implementation of the College and Career Ready Standards has created some controversy, and I want to take this in two pieces. And so this first question is the first piece, and that is the curriculum that's been developed and used. Do you think the curriculum used in the classroom is benefiting students and teaching them to be critical thinkers, and is better than what was taught in schools previously? If so, why? If not, how would you address that? We'll start with Kathy.
Okay, so first of all, standards are what needs to be taught, and curriculum is how it is taught. And there seems to be a lot of misconception about that. The standards are set by the state, and we are mandated to implement the standards here. The chore of curriculum, how those standards are taught, falls on the school district at the local level. We have curriculum and instruction specialists who work with teachers to develop them. What I like about the standards is they are higher standards. They are going to hold our kids and our teachers accountable for higher levels of learning. That's good for Arizona, because it helps us to be more competitive from state to state. That's good for students and families who might move from state to state because they're going to know that they're going to get a high-level standard that's going to be very close from third grade to third grade from state to state.
30 seconds.
I like the critical thinking component that is in the Common Core, and I like that it's collaboration and using technology. Is it perfect? No, but we've just rolled it out, and we have high-quality professionals that are working to make it better every single day for our students and our families.
Thank you. Dr. Berkey?
Our district is ready and working with the Common Core standards. The state's a little behind catching up with it. We've been through this before. We've changed from ASAP back in the 89, 90, other programs that high-stakes tests we brought in AIMS. Right now we're talking about restructuring a more of a holistic curriculum where each course applies to the same idea. In other words, we're not funneling math up and funneling science up and funneling social studies and funneling history. We have what we used to call thematic units, and all things apply towards a common goal. If you look at a tree, you can count the leaves on it, and that's maybe math, and you can talk about the phloem and the xylem, the science part of it, and you can read a poem about trees. And all these things apply instead of just trying to funnel knowledge. We don't funnel knowledge, and we don't process knowledge that way. It all has to have
30
meaning.
seconds.
And this is what the curriculum standards do. I've been working on them since 2009 and 2010 at Arizona State. I was already integrating that in teaching curriculum and assessment to future teachers. It's not new, and nothing's new under the sun as far as standards and assessments. So we're working. It's the best one I've seen, and I can say that as a professional. Thank you.
Time? Okay. Borhauer, please go ahead.
I think the big issue with Common Core is that they kind of got the cart before the horse. The state ed board adopted standards without telling you, okay, now we have this new curriculum. We want you to teach to a new standard, but we don't know where the end game is. Sitting here today, they still have not developed any end-of-course assessments or graduation assessments like the AIMS test was for those college and career-ready standards. I think the benefit that the Peoria district have is we write our own curriculum. And we have for as long as I can remember, and I've been in the district since '81 when my kids started school here. So we'll be able to be real adept at moving when they move the target, and the target will move. There's been standards, I think, since the Sputnik beat us up into space. They decided there needed to be better science standards. So there's always been standards. It's how do you get there? How do you teach your students? That's where the debate is. And we're aiming at the student. The goal of where they need to be, progressing year over year, that's still a moving target because they have not adopted any kind of testing constituent or told us where the standard would be. So I'm not afraid of Common Core. It's a new teaching philosophy, so to speak, for our teachers, but I think it's in the best interest of our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth Joyce?
How did I know there was going to be a Common Core question? I felt it in my bones. Since 1981, when I started teaching, there have been many different educational theories. 1983, it was Nation at Risk. If any of you are around then, you'll remember that. That included the information highway, where we were going to try to teach students how to use the new computers that were showing up in classrooms. 1989, it was George H.W. Bush's program, Second to None. 2001, I know a lot of you remember this, No Child Left Behind. And now it's 2012, Race to the Top, commonly known as Common Core. The states had to get federal money for it, or they didn't get federal money if they didn't go ahead and agree to do it, and it's been controversial ever since. It's supposed to get the kids career and college ready, and yet we don't really know what that means yet. So that has yet to be seen what that actually means. I believe there does need to be some type of national system of grading or testing, and for example, ACT and SATs are being used by colleges across the nation. So that is a standardized test.
30 seconds.
I do not, however, believe that the federal government needs to have their noses in our local schools. I think we do need to decide what curriculum is taught to our kids. Thanks.
Thank you. And another related question. We talked about the curriculum now on the question of the standards that are part of this. Do you see them as being better for the success of students than what was in place before? If so, why? If not, how would you address that? And Beth, we'll start with you.
Okay, like we've said, we don't know exactly how this is all going to roll out. It is too new of a system for us to be able to measure that yet. What I've heard personally from people is, for example, third grade math is one of the levels where they do measure, and our third grade math students are having a difficult time meeting these standards. So what are we going to do if all of a sudden, halfway through the school year, we realize that there's something wrong with these and our kids can't meet the standards? That's what I mean. We haven't rolled it all out yet. We don't know what the tests are going to be, so it's too early to tell.
Okay. Alborja.
It's pretty common knowledge that the standards are accelerated. So when she talks about fourth grade math, that was probably fifth grade math last year or the year before. So we're trying to accelerate the students in their learning. And I agree that the jury's still out, basically, because we don't really have what the end game should be. There are kids that are going to really thrive in the new standards, and there are kids that are going to struggle. And our challenge will be to have interventions in place to help those kids that struggle. And that's where we hope to have the money. If the legislature gets back to funding inflation, we'll maybe have the money to help to have support for those students that are going to struggle. But without that, it's going to be a tough road to hoe, because we don't even know where we're going yet, and that's frustrating to me. It really is, because I think our state board and our State Department of Ed should have been better on top of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Burke?
Our standards and our learning goals have changed frequently. Everyone is worried that this is about when we create our curriculum, when the school district does, well, what about the testing? What are they going to learn? Gee, is my fourth grader going to be behind? And really, that's called the assessment, the high stakes assessment. And we've had those problems before. I don't think that it's valid in the situation we're in now to worry about the end game or whatever the assessment is. Now, as far as moving our curriculum, standards, the Common Core standards were lined up next to the Arizona standards, and they have what's called crosswalks. So it's an easy move from one to the other. That's been going on for a number of years. And so it should be adaptable. I think what the problem is, we get worried about the high stakes testing before we're worrying about what's going on with the curriculum in the classroom. Once again, they may be accelerated, but each part of it, each grade rolls into another. I have an example of it right here. The kindergartner, what we want them to learn in kindergartner prepares them for a related and the next step into the first grade. And the first grade, again, builds on that knowledge and moves them forward in a general way. But there's a whole list of pages and pages of what those specific content areas are. So we're building on previous knowledge.
Time. Connect, go ahead.
I would agree that not having adopted a test is problematic, in that we don't necessarily have a target. But there's an upside to that too, because we all know that once there is a test, that sometimes the inclination is to teach to the test. I'm very confident that our professional teachers are doing good teaching even without a target test. They know what the standards are. They know how to integrate different subject areas in together, and most of them have been doing this for a little while. So I'm confident that we are still delivering a high-quality educational product to our students, even though we don't have a test right now. Like I said, it's not perfect. It's funny that this was adopted in 2010, and only now during election season is it a hot topic. I think that should be, everyone should be aware of that. Is it perfect? No. And I would hope that the parents
30
and
seconds.
community members would give input through their teachers and the principals and get it to the district office so that we can continue to fine-tune and improve the curriculum so it serves our students. One last thing, it's not a federal program. It was designed by the states. And this is repeated again and again and again, and it's not true. The federal connection is a small part of the criteria to get a grant from the federal government, but it was designed by the state.
Okay, thank you. I want to turn to an issue having to do with the culture of schools, and that's bullying, which has been much talked about topic in recent years. I'd like to know from each of you what you see as the role of the governing board in addressing bullying issues in schools generally. And also, should district policy be changed in any way? And should there be explicit policies regarding bullying over sexual orientation or gender identity? Kathy Connect, we'll start with you when you're ready.
Okay. I'm sure everybody in this room knows some child who's been bullied and how heartbreaking it is. The role of the governing board is to set policy, and I'm pleased to say that we do have policy on how those situations are to be handled, because it is truly, truly a sad situation. And we have a variety of different programs at different schools on the way students are told to react to one another, to behave with one another, all based in respect in our character education. One of the great things that I think we're teaching kids nowadays is not to be a bystander. That if you see things happening to a fellow student, that you take it upon yourself to say, hey man, that's not cool. And I think that helps our students to become better citizens of the world and of their campuses as well. As far as the question of sexual orientation goes, I think bullying is bullying is bullying, and intolerance is intolerance, and that we don't stand by and let any kind of discrimination happen on our watch. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Berkey?
And I've looked through and seen the school policy about that. That's definitely written in the rules about bullying. And teachers are taught that and do it instinctively as well, to intervene when they see something like that. It's just part of good conduct. It's part of bad conduct, I guess you would call it. But our teachers are trained in that, and they are using that in their curriculum to correct it and talk about it in the classrooms. It's not something that reaction, but it's a proactive discussion with the children that all the time we're talking about it. Therefore, it doesn't become, except for a few of them, become the issue in the hallway where disciplinary things have to happen. So that ongoing education in the classroom and ongoing reinforcement of positive behavior that our teachers do in all of our classrooms are what develops those citizens. We're always going to have a behavior problem, and we have the mechanism in place to discipline those children that need that. And so it's an evolving process. It's cyberbullying. We have it well covered, too, for those who have been following that. I'm on the Technology Advisory Committee, and we have things in place right away. And the schools are very reactive.
Times. All right, did not give you a warning on that one, but that was 90 seconds. Okay, Al Borhauer, go ahead.
We do have very strict policy against bullying, whether it be sexual harassment or any other form of discrimination. And beyond that, there are rules and regulations that are in student handbooks that our staff and teachers operate by. There are repercussions for those students that do that, suspensions and those kinds of things. I think where we still miss the boat, though, is with that support staff. Oftentimes, those kids that are bullying have low self-esteem, and so that causes them to act up. It's a social problem of theirs, and they put it out on somebody else. So, not having the support staff that the student in our schools that teachers need sometimes is a problem. But we do regulate it. It is regulated. We see each week as a board member, we get a report of the students that have been suspended from school and why, and how many days they've been given off. And you have to hope that that not only reflects on the student, but their parents will then begin to take an interest and get with the school and help resolve that so it doesn't continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth Joyce?
Bullying is bullying is bullying. And at Sunrise Mountain High School, we had one of four systems in the state. It was a group called World of Difference. And we trained kids through freshman English classes when the year-long English class took place at the freshman year. And they learned how kids aren't different. They're more the same than they are different. And you know, through a variety of activities, like, have you ever walked out of a movie theater before the end of the movie? And kids would stand up and they'd look around, and maybe the starting quarterback had stood up, and so did the kid who played the tuba in the marching band. And the kids would look at each other and go, wow, we are more the same than we are different. I actually got the training for this program, and I was downtown on September 11th, 2001. Which made the group seem even more important. After several years, we couldn't get the funding from our principal at the time, so the program no longer exists in the district. But I believe bullying is horrible. It requires teachers to be diligent and stop it the moment they see anything happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to another topic. And again, we'll start on that end with Beth on this one as well. There's been a lot of attention given to STEM education, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Some people believe, though, that that acronym is missing a letter and that it should be changed to STEAM education, including a focus on arts education in the schools. What role do you believe the arts should have in the schools? And does it need to be given a greater presence in the Peoria Unified School District? We'll start with you, Beth Joyce.
I think the Peoria Unified School District does a wonderful job with the arts program. I just sat through one of the presentations about a month ago of what we were doing in the arts area. I did a long-term sub job last year at Sunrise Mountain that was in drama, and I learned more about drama than I ever knew as a teacher sitting, you know, on the other side of the campus every day. But I think the arts program is vital. It gives those kids an outlet and a release that they might not get somewhere else, like writing papers or, you know, doing a mathematical equation. And I think it's a wonderful program, and I think our district does a great job of backing the arts programs.
Thank you.
Well, you started about STEM, and then you went to STEAM. We have focuses on STEM, and the Met Professional Academy will be specific in helping students be more successful in that area. But the arts part of STEM, the STEAM part, the arts are important to us. But regretfully, that was one of the things that we kind of took away from students. We reduced the number of days that they had those specials in arts, band, you know, music, PE, even library. So I would hope some of those things in those areas could come back. We do have 2 schools that focus on the arts, where we have our Arts Academy at Foothills Elementary, and we have arts education at Desert Harbor, where they surprisingly use art to teach. And it's amazing when you go in the classroom because they're acting out the history lessons while they're learning history in an art form. So those are fun. And we need to keep those. We need to keep the arts programs in our school. They're right brain programs. They help kids learn.
30 seconds.
And I guess something that nobody knows, that when I was in high school, I was president of the band and choir club in high school. So I have an arts focus in my background.
Sing?
Besides athletics.
Can you sing?
Not very well.
Oh.
There was a lot of other people singing with me. It really helped.
Thank you. Dr. Berkey?
Peoria School District has a stellar arts program, and the integration or the partnership with the city is, I don't know anybody else who does it as well as we do. And, also, the arts are part of every bit of curriculum. Arts are kind of like technology. I'm a technology guy. And it's not a separate thing, but it's incorporated in our teaching in all grades, similar to what Hal said there about, it's an integrated part of it. We teach arts, and again, we display, if you look out here, we see the work of our kids, and every child has a different way to express him or herself. You know, if you're not a mathematician, you might find that intelligence in you, that expression, within other creative methods. And those are the things we have to address.
30 seconds.
That's kind of why I was one of those kids that kind of sat in the back. We didn't have CTE programs like we have, or arts programs we have in our school district. And that's what's going to keep our kids engaged, as well as the science and math that all integrated in it. We don't silo education. It's about learning a holistic thing. Our kids are humans, they're people, and they absorb everything together. And that's why it all relates to
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy?
One of the best things about being a really big school district and having large comprehensive high schools is we offer such a variety of opportunities to so many kids. We do have advanced science classes. We do have advanced technology classes like our media program. We do have engineering and robotics programs, and we have advanced math for those kids that are really excelling in calculus and, I don't know, trigonometry or something like that. It wasn't me. And arts too. And I think when we talk about our 95% graduation rate, the reason we're able to keep kids is because there's something for everybody. Those kids who are musical or artistic or want to be on stage to express themselves, they have those opportunities as well as those other STEM opportunities, as well as those athletic opportunities. There's no doubt that it's the diversity of programming that keeps our kids in schools. Our board recently won the Kennedy Arts Center Award for the best board in terms of supporting arts programming in their school district. We're very, very proud of that. If I would change anything about our arts programming is I would increase the level of focus on creativity, more than just methodology and technique, but how do we really foster creativity? Because that's what translates into the science and engineering and makes Americans who are truly innovative.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to school choice. Last year, the legislature considered a bill that would have allowed school boards to extend empowerment scholarship accounts to all students in the district. If such a bill were enacted and a motion was presented to the school board, would you vote to extend ESAs to all district students? And if so, how would you replace a loss in funding? Kathy, we'll start with you. Yeah.
We could not replace the funding. If 600,000 kids were given vouchers, they would all try to compete for the best private school. There aren't enough private schools. What we would end up with is only the most affluent or privileged kids getting into very few schools. And the rest, who knows? We wouldn't have the funding to be able to keep our doors open, probably, with that kind of model. The best way for Arizona to attack the problem of education is to fully fund schools so they can provide high quality for all kids. And this idea of vouchers, or ESAs, what you call them, is not even veiled an attempt at privatizing education. I don't believe that's in the best interest of kids, of communities, or America.
Thank you. Dr. Burke, go ahead.
I think that privatization is taking our money as neighbors and we're using it for profit in education. We have public schools that are the center of every neighborhood. If you look at a map of Peoria, you'll see that right in the middle is a public school, and that's the parent groups that go to it and support it. This is privatization, is, as we see it now through the vouchers, is something similar to what we had in the early 60s, I think, after Brown, in the South, in the states of Mississippi and Alabama, Brown v. the Board of Education. In their case, they wanted private education because of the skin color of the children. And that's what they did. They created academies. This voucher program or whatever they're talking about is because of income now. They're trying to pick the those kids at a higher level and cherry pick from it. The second thing is they're disingenuous about the enrollment.
30 seconds.
They students enroll in many of these academies, take advantage of that, and then end up leaving them very early in the school year. And finally, there is no tracking whatsoever that we've been able to find. There is a big hole where that money goes. No, we need to fund all education in a comprehensive way.
Thank you. Borja?
Well, part of it, you opened with school choice, and then you went to ESA. So I would profess to you that there are 37,000 students who made a school choice in the Peoria district, and many more in the state. And the rose is kind of fading on Common Core. I mean, not Common Core, I mean on charter schools. They were supposed to be the cat's meow education. We'll put everybody to charter school, they'll pick their school, and they'll be all high-performing. And they're not. They're not performing as well as the high-performing public schools. They don't require certified teachers in the classroom. So I could go teach if I could convince somebody to hire me, and I'm telling you, I wouldn't be the best teacher unless you were wanting to learn some kind of athletic event. But Mr. Brooke was right. The ESAs, the student empowerment accounts was really another way to get at the millions of dollars that's in education.
30 seconds.
For people to take that home. And unlike those of us in the school district who have to sign a waiver that there's no conflict each year, legislators don't have to do that. And if you look at the list of legislators down there, many of them are making a living from school funding.
Thank you. Beth Joyce?
I believe the public school systems are the backbone of our country. I really do. And we've seen personally in North Peoria what charter schools can do. A few years ago, you drive down Lake Pleasant Parkway and you see all these brand new beautiful buildings on the side of the road, and they're charter schools. And I know Sunrise Mountain worried a lot about these schools when they opened up. What we found, though, is soon after they opened, within a year, those kids came back to the Peoria Unified School District. There were problems that they hadn't foreseen up there, and plus they liked the overall education where you got to go to sporting events. You got to, the art classes that we offered were better. And I think, honestly, they did make, like you said, a school choice, and they came back to our district. So
30 seconds.
I do believe that we offer a better product, and people realize that and come back in the end.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to take a question that came from the audience that's related to this topic. PUSD is losing students to charter schools. What can we do as a district to compete with schools like Great Hearts to draw families back? And Beth, we'll start with you.
Okay, one of the programs that we started at Sunrise Mountain, and I can't remember specifically the name of it, so forgive me for that, but we created a school where kids could come in 7th grade and enroll as a freshman at Sunrise Mountain High School, and by the time they're sophomores, they actually get their high school degree, and then we had certified teachers of community college degrees who could teach them, and when they were seniors, they had earned their AA degree. This is one of the programs I'm talking about that people come back to the district, and when Great Hearts opened, I know, they have lights up and it looks like they have football programs and things like that, but they don't. And a lot of those kids, we'll see, that wasn't the charter school I was talking about before, but they end up coming back to the public schools.
Okay, thank you. Borja?
I'm sure there are a number of students in the Peoria district that have their parents have selected charter school for them, and there may be a great opportunity for them, and some of them may excel there. And I guess more power to them. If that's the best for your student and your students excel, then you should take them there. But our district has not lost the majority of students to charter schools. We're continuing to grow year after year, even with charter schools in our area. And many parents, like she said, the students are coming back. They begin to come back in April about the time that they used to have to take the Ames test, the charter school would say, you probably don't belong here. We don't want you to take the test while you're here. So they would have them leave the school before they had to take the Ames test and have that grade reported to that school. So those parents are beginning to understand that charter schools aren't what they should be. I don't think we're losing students to them. And I can tell you a recent story. The basis school in Scottsdale had its first graduating class last year. 32 students graduated. Probably very highly intelligent students. The trouble is the incoming freshman class had 100 students. So the graduation rate is 32%.
Thank you. Dr. Berkey?
And standing on its own, Peoria Unified School District, our high schools and elementary schools, stand on their own pretty much next to any charter program that I've seen. Charters were designed or thought about as being some sort of a special initiative, maybe outdoor activities or science that was going to be staffed by educators. And it quickly became a money-making thing. It became a billion-dollar business. People looked at the amount of bounty. I mean, it's billions and billions of dollars. And things are traded on the stock market of the big parent companies of these charter schools. And we're a neighborhood school, and that's competitive. Our kids walk by our houses going to the school. There are so many activities and parent-teacher organizations going on. I read all the Facebook pages from the schools. It's a community. Charters aren't. And the problem is, if we stop subsidizing them with our taxpayer money, or we subsidize, or if we pay, if they had an even playing field with us, only the best of them will survive, and Peoria will always, as it always has, excel. That's just the way it's going to be. But we have to get the playing field level. We can't subsidize any kind of thing on the back of public education.
Thank you. Kathy Knecht?
There's a very well-known charter school in North Peoria, and they tout the success of their high school students, and I always laugh because those students went to elementary school in the Peoria Unified School District. And, you know, then they put their own stamp on it and collect a little extra money on top of it as well. I'm really pleased to hear all four people here tonight being advocates for public neighborhood schools, public district schools. And that's really one of the main jobs of a school board member, is to be advocating for your kids and your schools and the families that live within your community. You asked how we lure kids. We don't have to lure kids, like Mr. Borhauer said. We have high quality programming. We have loving, nurturing teachers. And by and large, people want to stay here. We have, over the last several years, offered some magnet programs focused on arts and STEM education, a language immersion program. We have a traditional academy. So there are some niche programs that some families feel is right for them. But I personally have always been a strong advocate for a high-quality neighborhood school that makes people move into communities, stay in communities, and engage with their neighbors, because that, too, is really a powerful thing for the upbringing of happy, healthy kids.
Thank you. Okay, switching gears. In the challenging budget environment of the last few years, the board has approved cuts to special education. Where does a restoration of that funding rank in your list of priorities, and how would you pay for it? Kathy Knecht, we'll start with you.
Well, hopefully we're going to get that money from the state any minute now. No, it's a serious concern. Special ed teachers are what we call hard-to-fill positions. It's a very intense job with kids who have a variety of special needs. I would, if we had extra funding, and really, people always say, school board, what are you going to do? You know, you need money for this. Our hands are tied. Our hands are tied. We do the best we can with the very limited funds that we have. For everybody who's concerned out there about the quality of education due to funding, you need to be asking your state legislators and looking very carefully at their voting records. And even if they say they're for education, what is it that they're doing? Would I put more money into special education? Absolutely, I would. Those classes need, they need more teachers because the burdens on them are more intense, and so we need a lot of special ed teachers for that. And like I said, for any teacher, any way that we can facilitate their job to lower challenges that face them in their everyday, make their jobs less stressful, then we should find ways to do that as a school board and administration.
Thank you. Dr. Burke?
We've, special education is something that all public schools, actually federal law says that we will take our special education, those kids that have special needs. They're extremely trying for those teachers. I mean, it takes a lot of time to work with those children in smaller groups, and our money, we've lost the teacher aides or assistants is the main thing we've lost. We have to, we educate everybody in our school district, and we do it well. One of the areas that special ed teachers, most of them are able to work with children with multiple or different areas of need. We do
30
well
seconds.
in here. We do with what we can. What we need to do with restoring your money is get help in those classrooms with those special education teachers. And once again, we take all the students that come here. That's the difference in a public school. Other schools say they might or something like that, non-public schools, but in reality, walk through the halls, them, and walk through our school and look at those rooms where the wonderful work is being done by our teachers, one-on-one on those kids. I went on a tour of Alta Loma, and I just fell in love with
Time?
it.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
I'm glad you fell in love with Alta Loma. That's positive. Special needs, like the rest of our students, suffered reductions in service over the last 5 or 6 years because of a reduction in aid. And that's the things in my opening statement I was talking about restoring. Not only special students, in special education, maybe you're talking about disability students, but gifted students are special students too. So we need to support all those students, and as funding comes back, there'll be some point in time that the legislature will start funding inflation again. Those dollars will go to help support those students, all students, from the top to the bottom that have lost support. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure what this feedback is coming from. I apologize. Okay now?
Ready?
All right,
All
go
right.
ahead.
Just waiting. Okay, our special ed department is one of the best in the state, and districts surrounding us send their special ed students to us because of that. Special ed is one of the areas where we are really in need of good quality teachers. Once the state does fund us again, like Kathy said, we're waiting, that money should go to special ed and a lot of the other programs also, but I think special ed funding is extremely important.
Okay, thank you. Turning to this a recent controversy. There was an article in the newspaper about this, I believe, yesterday, but recently there's been somewhat of a controversy about teachers in the district having religious items in the classroom, a Bible, a plaque, a poster, something like that that expresses a religious view. And some teachers have been told to remove those items from display in the classroom. Do you support the district's handling of that and the current policy towards that, or would you seek to change that on the board? And we'll start at the far end there.
That would be me.
Yes.
Okay. I think most teachers have a personal bulletin board, their desk, something like that, and I think it is their right to have a religious icon there. If they want to put a Bible there, that's fine. If a student wants to ask them about it, that's fine with me. But I know our teachers have to tread a very tight line on what they say about whatever it is to their students. I know our teachers do a good job of that, and I hope they continue to do so. For the most part, I think it honestly hasn't been a problem, but I know there's always something that'll come up occasionally, so.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Boer?
I think the paper surprisingly got it wrong. There's not a big issue about that. There is a legal separation that has to happen. The teacher has the right to their religious preference, but they can't prophesize in the classroom. And we know that that's federally been established. So I don't think that we force people to remove their personal items from their classroom. I'm not aware that we've done that. I don't believe we have. But we probably have told them if they're proselytizing that they have to stop that. They can't preach to the students about their religion. And that's the policy I would support. We may see it in the future if we're reelected, maybe coming to the board. But I don't think there's an issue right now, to be honest with you.
Okay. Dr. Berkey?
And that's the professional conduct of teachers is pretty well covered. Those are things, religious icons, posters, things like that, proselytizing, like Hal said, those are just things you don't do and say in a public school. A private school can have anything they want to have. We had a great split between way back when parochial schools came about with the Catholic religion. They can do anything as a private school they want to do, with regard to religion. But we have to be open and free to all children, all people. That's what the United States is about. That's what America's about. So we have a policy in place, and the teachers I know are visited and observed on a constant basis by our administrators. In other words, it's all a cooperative working system within each school building. And if something's out of whack a little bit, if something inappropriate, I would imagine that the administrator would suggest change. I mean, I'm talking about something on a wall
30
or
seconds.
something said, but that's just the way that's conduct, professional, and we're a public school. And I don't know about this particular case, but I think like anything else, it's kind of somebody's gotten a hold of it and run with it as a big issue. Maybe we'll see more of it, but the law is the law and the policy is policy. We don't put those sort of things out in a classroom.
Kathy, connect?
Well, it's an interesting story, and it would make great conversation over dinner because it's separation of church and state versus First Amendment rights. I mean, it would be a very fascinating conversation. That being said, I would agree that it's not a big issue right now. I have great faith in the policy that is set and our administrators to enforce the policy. I think the policy is sound. I would say the paper got something right. What they said is, this really isn't the right venue for a culture war. Isn't it sad that when somebody asks a question about a Bible on a desk, that you have, major activist organizations taking up arms? Let's calm down, ask questions, let the administrators do their jobs, treat teachers like professionals, and just move on with teaching kids.
Okay, thank you. Speaking of moving on, next question.
I'll go first. How
Yeah,
about that?
and you'll get it first here. All right.
Nice of you.
Bill wants to go first.
On the question of science instruction, should the district science instruction include so-called intelligent design theories or other alternative theories about the origins of the universe?
How about
2 minutes.
Yeah, you go first.
no?
Okay, is that all right? Dr. Berkey?
No.
Well, I'll go a little deeper than that.
Okay,
No and no.
okay.
Is it my turn now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me answer it this way. I was a history teacher. And in our history class, the first thing we started out with was a study of the history of religions of the world. And it was fascinating because the students made the connections between three major religions in our world and how they all have a similar text, and that's the Old Testament. And so we kind of approached it that way, and it was covered in history class, not necessarily science class. Thank you.
Okay. Some consensus. Okay. Funding question. Did you support the last override or the 1% sales tax during the recession? Why or why not? Did you vote for that? Support. Why
Did
or why
I
not?
vote for
Yeah,
that?
and we'll start with you, Beth.
I get
Go
to
ahead.
start with this one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I did, because I think funding education is the most important thing we can do. For each individual person, it was not that much for them to help fund schools that were in desperate need of funding.
Okay. Borhauer?
I did support the 1 cent sales tax, and actually I supported the extension of it. Because it didn't have the result it was supposed to have. It was supposed to have 1% for education, and the legislature just swept it and kept it. So it didn't really get to where the education needed it, but it kept from further cuts from education because they could use that money other places. I have a firm belief that if we don't supply the education that our kids need to be successful when they come out of school, we just have to build more prisons. So we can put our money in the prison, or we can put our money in the classroom and make all these students successful citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hal, we do have legislators that are lots of contributions from private prisons, so we can accommodate your thing. Anyway, it was an extension. I certainly support it. It was an extension of the 1 cent sales tax, and it was not rightfully distributed, as you said. It was swept from by the legislature. But it would not have had that big of an impact on homes, on families, had we continued it. And we wouldn't be so far, the legislature, the state wouldn't be so far in the hole right now as they are for what they owe us. I vehemently, the sales tax, the 1 cent going to us, it was a good idea. But again, if your mission is to defund public education, then, as many outside interests, you do remember that the people that came in from outside, we're talking dark money now in the elections, you do know that there was a lot of this sort of money that came in to defeat the 204. I mean, there's
30 seconds.
big time. And so go back in the papers, you can see it. No.
Okay.
Was your
Kathy, can
question on the 1 cent sales tax or overrides?
Both.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, and yes. I've always supported that because, I always think our students and our community is worth the best that we can possibly give them. Remember, your school board doesn't make that happen. The school board decides whether or not to pass it on to the voters in the community. And fortunately, our voters have been very generous with us. And they showed back in 2000 that with passage of 301, that paying a little extra for education strengthens our communities, and it's worth paying for. I was very active in the Yes on 100 campaign and on the 204 campaign and in the override campaign. I will say this, though. It's unfortunate that we have to turn to our local community in the instances of providing the basics that in many cases the state should be
30 seconds.
taking care of us, or taking care of our schools, taking care of our kids. And a good argument can be made that that the local community shouldn't have to be paying for what the state is obligated to pay for. And I think we need to keep that on our radar screen.
Thank you. I'm going to take an audience question here. If you have been on the board, what has been your greatest success personally? If not, what do you hope to accomplish for this district? And Kathy, we'll start with you.
Oh gosh, there are I mean, it kind of goes back to my opening statement. Every time I hear pomp and circumstance, I get all choked up. I mean, the successes are the kids that leave and go off to college or go off to a successful career or come back and sing for us, or any of their successes are our successes. I don't look at my own individual successes because no one board member does anything as an island. It's a team of 5 working with a team of hundreds who is working with a team of thousands. Every victory that any school or any student has, we all share. There have been some highlights. Old Main was a highlight. Anytime we can give teachers a raise, even if it's a little one, it's bittersweet, but it's better than not giving teachers raises. Opening the new school this year has been a lot of fun, and being able to incorporate some of the new innovations in student learning environments is something that I have been beating the drum about since I came on board in 2007. And to see some of the natural lighting and things like that finally come to fruition
30 seconds.
Was very rewarding.
Thank you. Dr. Berkey?
Beyond the expertise, the curricular and financial things I'd like to accomplish, I was talking to our videographer who is a parent volunteer tonight, and we're having a discussion. I've been paying more and more attention to what's going on in our schools. I guess social media helps us do that. But there are so many events going on, and I would like to really reach out. I mean, I have to the different neighborhoods and communities to encourage and help them, especially the areas that aren't showing up as strong as some of the others, and reaching out to get parental involvement. You know, it isn't just a thing. Parental involvement is so important in child development and in education. I used to think everything was on an economic thing, that the people with more money and more assets, those children did better than those
30
that didn't.
seconds.
But research shows absolutely that anybody whose parents are involved with the school and their children, those students excel in everything from social, to test scores, to post high school education or careers. So that's kind of will be one of my missions out there. And the other, of course, is I have a reading mission. I have so many missions on my back burner here. I can't wait to get started.
Time. Mr. Brohauer?
I would say as being a member of the governing board, my personal successes have been some of the programs we've been able to put in place in the district. Some of the signature programs, whether it be the STEM program at Heritage, the CCDI at Copperwood, the gifted program, the HEAT program at Distancia, traditional school, all of those have been successes that have enhanced the education that our students get. The upcoming Met Center at Old Main has been fantastic for the high school students, because the other signature programs are in the elementary schools. So the success of this district going forward and continuing to grow, continuing to be innovative, and doing a better job year after year with even less funds has been the success that I've enjoyed. The national recognitions from the National School Board Association, the Kennedy Center Award, validates what we've been doing as far as arts education goes. So those are the successes of the district become personal successes.
30 seconds.
I don't have personal gains. I didn't get on this job to drive, we need more math, or we need more science, or we need to not have football. That wasn't my goal. My goal was to do the best I could for the students in our district, and I've enjoyed doing it.
Thank you. Ms. Joyce?
I think one of the most rewarding things, even as a teacher in this district, is to see former students become productive adults in society, and you think of, in maybe some small way you helped that. As a board member, I would like to help Peoria remain to be one of the best school districts in the state. I would like for to help with better communication between the schools and the district office, and perhaps stop the number of teachers who are trying to find jobs elsewhere because they're not getting paid enough money to make a living here. So that would be a great goal if I could accomplish it. And who knows? You know, one of the other things I was going to mention, when I started in the district, a lot of the people here at district office were fellow teachers with me. So it's been great seeing their careers progress also.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to kindergarten. And this came up earlier, but I want to address this specifically. PUSD does offer full-day kindergarten, but that comes at a price for parents. Would you keep that in effect? Or as a board member, would you seek other ways to pay for the full cost, or for the cost of full-day kindergarten, other than from the pockets of parents? Ms. Joyce, we'll start on that end.
It would be wonderful if the district could fund full-day kindergarten. I know when our son was in kindergarten, we did pay the extra stipend for an afternoon kindergarten. It would be a great thing if the district could fund it. If they can't, I think a lot of times the money or the tuition for that half day of kindergarten is much less than a daycare center would be. And the kids are with certified teachers who continue teaching them after their morning or afternoon kindergarten class.
Thank you. Borja?
The change to half-day fully funded kindergarten was a reduction because of state funding was reduced for that. Whether or not we started all-day kindergarten this year was a debate. And the debate was, do we fully fund kindergarten this year, or would we give the teachers a raise? And that was our choice. We had to make that choice. And this year we voted for the teachers. Next year I'd like to vote for kindergartners. I said in my opening statement, funding all-day kindergarten is an important step for us. It's important for the students. It gives them a start, gets them going. So I would be in support of that, and there's administrators here who know I've kind of challenged them on all-day kindergarten for a number of years.
Thank you.
When we find the money, we'll have it.
Always the challenge. Dr. Berkey.
Definitely restore it as soon as we're able to, and I think the district is working in that direction. As Mr. Borauer said, it's part of what the district is. We need, those children are learning so much. Many of us that are, long in the tooth or gray on the temple think of kindergarten as nothing more than a playtime, but children are developing at that time, and those are the foundations that will help them build on the first, second grades, learn to read, and those sort of things. And I think those of you with children see that happening. So let's get it. That's a top priority when we start hopefully getting funded again. That's a big hole in our, and maybe there will. I'll just leave it.
Okay, thank you. Connect.
The district has a long reputation of really embracing and supporting all early childhood. We have a partnership with First Things First at a community center at one of our elementary schools. We have preschools. The education community is all on board. We understand how critical it is for our youngest children to have enriching experiences so that they get to first grade and they're prepared to do what first graders need to do to be successful. I think it was a tragedy when the state of Arizona decided to discontinue funding for all-day K. It put our students at a disadvantage, and it put our families at a disadvantage. If they wanted their kids in all-day K, they had to come up with the money themselves. I think it's really important that for those families who are truly in need, that we find alternative forms of funding through scholarships, because we know that those kids that are struggling financially, come from families that are struggling financially, are also sometimes the same kids that are struggling academically. So we need to find any way we can to hold the state's feet to the fire and find a way to get those kids into those programs that are going to make them the most successful.
Thank you. Okay, and last question, perhaps a bit lighter to end here. Recently there has been a proposal announced, and we're likely to see legislation come January, that would require all Arizona students to pass the same civics test that those seeking citizenship must pass in order to graduate from high school. What do you think about that idea, Kathy?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, one of the things when we talk about new standards is higher standards, and we don't know what to shoot for unless we have a goal. So I think it's a fabulous goal. Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've read those questions. I would hope that every one of our graduating seniors are able to answer that. However, in the legislation, the people that brought up that proposal, I don't know whether all of them would be able to do it. But I pretty much say our students, our seniors, are right now able to answer those questions. My wife took the same test when she became a citizen. So, and she passed, you know. So.
Mr. Boerhauer?
I have no problem with having a civics final that students would have to pass to graduate from high school. I've seen the Jay Leno things walking around talking to people that have not an idea who the president or the vice president is or what the three branches of government are, and I think that's a travesty that those kids went to school and didn't learn the civics of our country. And it's important that our students know the civics and the history of our country. Perpetuate it, or it will change.
Thank you.
That test was on Facebook and was going around, different sites. And I'm one of those people, I clicked on it and took it. And I got a 98%, but I'm really upset because I missed one question. I was so upset. But I think absolutely every student graduating from a school should take the test and have to pass that test to graduate. I agree.
Okay. Thank you all for being here tonight, and please join me in thanking the candidates for their answers. Please do remember to vote on November 4th, and I'll put a plug in here. If you're not already a subscriber, please do subscribe to the Republic as well. Thank you.